Hey, good morning. Welcome to another awesome time we're sharing together with you guys here on the Overflow Fuel Network. Man, listen, I'm excited about today's talk because it's near and dear to my heart. Listen, I would be honest to say that I'm the best shower singer there ever was. And on Sunday, don't stand too close because I'm going to be in the key of me and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I heard one person say, if you're going to be wrong, be strong and wrong. And that's the way I sing on Sunday. But man, today we are talking about what does it look like in this generation, praise and worship. What's going on in our churches as we are worshiping virtually? What does it look like, and how can we do a better job of it? Have you ever sat there at your church and wondered, man, are these kids even listening? Or have you done something and said, man, what music are they listening to? I feel disconnected. Well, listen, today we believe that you will be able to get some good insight on how to reach your students creatively, how to create music that, or even provide music that is engaging, but also find stuff that's gonna reach you too. I've got some special friends with me today, and I'm gonna bring them on, two amazing worship leaders from here in Houston, Texas, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. So guys, I'm gonna bring them in. My good friend, Minister Vernon. Man, tell us, man, your name, where you're from, a little bit about yourself.
So, hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you guys, man, just to be able to share in worship and with the word and music. My name is Vernon J. I've been in Houston for a very long time, got an opportunity to travel and do worship in several settings. Probably been a worship leader since there was a title called worship leader. That's a pretty good way to put it. And so I'm just excited to be able to have this conversation with you.
Nice. And our other special guest, Minister Daethan, man, tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, my name is Daethan Lewis. I'm actually here in Houston, Texas as well, by way of Detroit, Michigan. And I have definitely been, as Vernon said, a worship leader since it existed in the modern church. And I'm just grateful to be here on tonight and share what I know in my experience with you.
Okay, good stuff. All right, well, let's dig right into it, man. How important is worship or even praise and worship in youth church? Like, is it necessary, or will the service survive, or is like why? Like let's talk about that. How necessary is having praise and worship in youth worship services?
I thought I was going to give it to Daethan first. I didn't want to be the first one to speak.
he's being gracious.
I was going to just hand over, but I think it's super important. I think we just have to make sure that we're always, trying to serve them. And so that's the bigger part about worship leading. No matter if you're doing it in a big church or a small church, with youth or with adults, you're always looking at, who's my audience, what's our goal, what's our target. And so if you're running youth ministry or youth worship, because that sometimes includes not just singing, but dancing and stepping and all the things that come with youth church, that we're always thinking about the kids and what songs are we singing? How are we going to put it to them so that they could get it? A lot of times it's not my favorite song, but if it's their favorite song, we sing it because we understand that it ushers them into the presence of God. And so because we're grown and older and maybe have a little bit more seasoning, our job is to kind of pull them in with things that they like, and also adding a little, a little flavor to it. I think the best thing I've ever heard is my pastor say, like, I don't like peas, but sometimes if you dip like the peas in the peaches, they don't know that it's peas. They just taste the peaches. And so sometimes as a worship leader, you have to do that. You got to give them a little bit of what they want, and then also just integrate a little bit of what they need to kind of help sustain it on a weekly basis.
I love that. Man, Daethan, what do you think, man? Is worship still a necessary element of youth church?
It's actually very necessary. It's still what we were created to do. And with that, just trying to find that way to balance between the two in terms of praise and worship, and still be able to reach the youth and young adults, because even in our worship settings, it's not just youth that are tuning in. We have young adults and older people that are watching, but just to really be able to kind of express that mainly to the youth, because that's who we work with directly in regards to the importance of it and just what we're created to actually do and why we do it, the benefit of it. So that makes it very necessary today.
Okay, well, if we realize it's necessary and that we need to include it in our youth services. Well, now youth church is virtual. Youth church is virtual. And so what are some ways that you think we can incorporate it now that everything is, we don't have an audience to minister to? How does it look like? What does we'll start with you, Daethan, again. What do you guys do at your church? And I'll be coy. Minister Daethan is the praise and worship leader for the Rock Youth Church in the Fountain of Praise. But man, what does it look like for you? How do you do praise and worship how do you program your praise and worship for the Rock Youth Church?
So at the Rock Youth Church, the Fountain of Praise in Houston, Texas, we definitely do things virtually. And in terms of the worship set, we choose songs for the period of the month, and we give them out to the singers, the band, and we'll come together and have one big recording. And we'll pretty much stream those each Sunday throughout the month. Now, the thing is with worship services, like we were talking about before we kind of got on, it looks different for us all. You know what I'm saying? Now you have some people that are in their living rooms. We actually do ours in the sanctuary at the church, but still just trying to keep the main thing, which is praise and worship.
Okay. Minister Vernon, man, how are you guys doing worship in this virtual reality over at your church, man?
So he hit it on the head, man. Virtual is just a different feel. It is completely different. It took me about a week or two, man, to just get used to singing to seems like no one, where normally, even if you were having a down day or you wasn't feeling your best, normally the adrenaline or the sanctuary, as we would like to call it, the people being there can kind of give you a little boost of energy. But man, when it's virtual, it's a different story. But what I have learned and been very keen on doing is this was not the time when we chose to pick new songs. We understood we were virtual, so we understood this is different for everybody. So what we didn't want to do is try to create a different vibe. Like, we want to start off with songs that we know they know. So it's like, if nothing else, I automatically have your attention. You're not trying to learn or pick up. Like, we're going to sing songs that you already know. We might change the rhythm or the beat or the key change or do something different with the flow of it. But for the most part, we're going to always kind of stick to songs that people know, because we didn't want to lose them in basically being on TV and not being in church. So that was one of the bigger things for me in programming is, hey, what songs have we sung? What songs can work? And then if we were going to integrate something new, it was folded into something old. And so we didn't get a chance to lose them. So now it is a little bit different. It takes a little bit more thought for us to be a little bit more creative with the same songs, the same instrumentation. And so that's one of the things we've been doing, but that virtually, we had to learn it. Like, we didn't want to lose, the members. We didn't want to lose the followers. We wanted to make sure that people were being able to enjoy the worship experience and not turning it into a listening experience and not a worship experience. Because if they don't know the song, then they're pretty much just listening.
They're just listening.
And so we just kept it with songs that we knew that they were going to know and got great response from it.
Well, okay. So, but there's something interesting. You both have bands. Thank God we've been blessed to have a youth band, and you guys have an amazing band over there at your church. But what about those youth ministries who are, maybe their Sunday is a Zoom call? We pre-record. I like how you said, Minister Daethan, we just get on one Sunday and we practice, record for 4 weeks, and we take that 4 weeks recording and we release one song each week for 4 weeks. But what about those churches that don't have a worship band? What do you suggest to them to engage those who are watching?
You want to take it, Daethan, or you got it?
In terms of engaging, you have to really, just like each church, we all have our culture and we all have what reaches our audience. I remember it was a time that when I was singing at a small church I'm from in Michigan, we didn't have a big band. We didn't have all of that. And it's crazy because I got to learn some of the fundamentals then that are lacking now. So still being able to use those fundamentals to your advantage and really still be able to maximize your level of gift. You may not have the 4-piece band, you may not have just all of the best singers, but you can still worship. You know what I'm saying? God, he still receives it the same. It's not about all of that. All of that is enhancements, but it doesn't make the experience.
I like that. Vernon, you got anything to add to that?
I guess on the other side of it, if you just want the big band, I know some of us were not able. Well, I know for my church, but I know other churches that during the pandemic, funds were tight, so some of them end up letting go of bands and not having full bands. And so, what I would say to that is, on the other side of keeping it very strategic, is learn your technology. Like learn it. Like there are so many apps and so many loops and so many different things you can use. I know that even at my church, we did a whole virtual concert with no band. I used Prime, which had bass, drums, everything was already in it. And I stacked the vocals on top, and you can't tell the difference. It sounds full, it sounds heavy. And you have to kind of know your church. So if a stripped down could work for your youth ministry, maybe one week you do more an acoustic feel, and maybe one week you use this app where it sounds really big. And so you keep them kind of off balance. But in the sense of kind of your question is like, if you can't have that, that doesn't mean because you can't have it in personnel, don't mean you can't have it in sound. There's a lot of things out there, if you get to know like the apps and how they work, that can really enhance your services, from just the strings that you put behind the preacher when they're preaching to, man, sing your favorite song with the track. If you know how to do it, or get some of your kids who are tech savvy, I'm pretty sure they know how to really get in there and make it sound amazing.
That's good. What are a couple of those apps that you said?
So you can use Loops by C-Dub. Those are great. There's an app called Prime, where it gives you the option to either download the track or to download, for music heads, the stem. So to give you every track individually. You can change the arrangement. You can change the key of the song. So if it's placed too high for you, but you still want to sing it, you can lower it or invert the key to fit your voice. I mean, you can always look online. Like YouTube has arrangements to like everything, right? So if you really just want to be creative, there are ways. Like I appreciate the whole like stripped down feel, because sometimes you don't need all of the instrumentation. You just need the voicing and the passion and the heart. And sometimes that comes through with keyboard or just a guitar. But then there are some songs where it's like, I want to feel the rumble, through the TV. And so you got to be able to use your apps and just, plan it out the best way you can.
And another thing to add to that is YouTube is our best friend. There's a lot of instrumentals on there. I've had to resort to a lot of those. So even if you don't have that luxury of just the band, go to YouTube as well. That's a great resource. A lot of instrumentals that are already, created there for that purpose.
And that's the great thing. But also be conscious of that. Those who are pre-recording your services, when you are posting, so say you pre-record and you're going to post it to YouTube, or you're going to post it to Instagram, if you use songs by an artist, they'll pull your stuff down if you do not put the necessary stuff in the comments. But if you are doing like a Zoom or you're going live, then you have more flexibility with using certain songs that are already produced. Question for you guys. That's some really good stuff. So here's a tough one. And this is because you guys are worship leaders. And maybe y'all never had this issue where you're standing up and you're worshiping with all your heart. And now, and then as you're on stage worshiping, you're looking at a sea of blank faces. Like people are just looking back at you like, whatever, right? And now the faces are gone and all you're looking at is a camera. How do you still connect to those who are on the other side of the screen, even though you cannot see them in person?
I'll start with one way I realized how to connect. I will say in the beginning, it was an adjustment because it's so different. You just don't have the energy that they provide, even like what you had said with just their faces, even that. It gives something, you know what I'm saying? So I try to engage them by saying things like, hit the like button, or, still try to speak to them where they are, turn the volume up, just saying use the language in which reaches them. So I still try to do those kind of things, but I realized too that, and I hope this comes out correct, worship itself will sell, in the sense of the authenticness of that. So, we can get so caught up in all of everything else, but if we just try to really get into that space, because honestly, we serve an audience of one anyway. So what it is, we are now experiencing this in our reality. You know what I'm saying? So with that being the case, just being able to tap into that and just still lift God up despite, you know, and he is the audience of one that we serve. So
I like that. I like that a lot. You got anything to add to that one, Mr. Vernon?
Well, I think he took it like it stripped us back down to what we were really supposed to be singing about. And this whole pandemic situation has really stripped us really back to, you know, doing it for the one person you're supposed to be doing it for. And if you do it that way, worship in itself is contagious.
Yeah.
If you do it right, no matter if it's coming through the TV, no matter if it's coming through your radio. I mean, we've all been in places where no one was in our cars with us, you know, you'd have heard that song 50 times, but this particular one time, it caught you off guard, or maybe your situation led to, you feeling it a different kind of way. So he hit it right. I think when we really direct what we do towards God, because some of it can become showmanship because you're looking for reactions of people. And so now that there is no reaction, then now it's like, well, why are you doing it?
right.
Are you really feel motivated to show up every week? Because no one's there watching you like that. So are you there to show up for the camera or all the people or the 3 services or the da 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 da? Now it's like, it's just you and these lyrics and these notes. And so you get back to the harmony of God, and not just vocally, but just being in sync and in tune. So I mean, I think Daethan, you hit it on the head. Like, it has stripped us back to really we're singing songs to God, and that's all that really matters.
I like that. Something that I pulled from both of you all is, if you're not connected to the song, it's hard to get other people to connect to it. So, and you can tell when someone's just singing lyrics and someone who's worshiping. And then also, Daethan, I thought that was a really good point that you made, is you have to do the same call and response things that you would do in person, virtually. Hit the like button, turn the volume up. Make a comment. Like, those things are engaging, and we have to continue to do that even in this virtual reality. So guys, in Psalms 96, it says, sing a new song to the Lord. Let the whole earth sing to the Lord. Sing to the Lord, praise his name each day, proclaim the good news that he saves. Then I like how it goes on to verse 4. It says, great is the Lord. He's most worthy of praise. He's to be feared above all gods, right? Super cool verse. But then, if you slide over to Amos, right? I'm gonna get crazy with you all. In Amos 23 or Amos 5:23, it says, away with the noise of your songs. I would not listen to the music of your harps. And so what goes on is he's going from this, like, we need to worship every day, but is it possible that some people are, like it says in the Psalms as well, or in 1 Corinthians, it's just a clanging sound. It's just noise. How do we move, and how do we move what we're doing on Sunday for our students from just noise to something that invites them into the presence of Jesus Christ? That's a big one.
It's so loaded, right? It's really, really loaded. But what I will say is, working with kids, and I think we all have, is that we have to remember, when we were kids, it did not settle in us then. Sometimes I think we're looking for that instant gratification that the kids are going to jump out their seats and they're going to be like, woo, that's the best thing I ever heard all week. Nah, they're not going to do that. And even if you were the best thing they heard all week, they're not going to give you the satisfaction of telling you were the best thing they heard all week.
Right.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that. But you just have to be consistent, right? I think the scripture that literally you speaking of is based on consistency of where your heart is. It's not what you're singing, it's why you're singing it, right? Yes. So you don't have to necessarily, like, there are songs that I like, I just don't get to sing. They're not fit for my style of congregational worship, right? That doesn't mean I don't like the song, doesn't mean anything about that. But there are some songs that I could sing at your church that I could never sing at mine. Just the congregations are different. It would not flow the same, right? So I think it doesn't matter what we're singing. If the message is right and we know who we're singing it to, it will invite those people in to necessarily to come in and worship with us. Even he says, like, behold, I'll just stand there and knock.
Yes.
I'm not going to pull you. I'm not going to push you. So with kids, it's the same way. Behold, we just stand here and worship. What you do in this moment is really up to you. But if I do it long enough, it will become, you will naturally want to join in. Like, you would naturally want to be a part. So I think we just have to stay consistent in how we worship and our hearts towards worship. And eventually the same kid who did not think nothing of you before will 2 weeks later speak to you in the hallway, 4 weeks later, we'll ask you, can they sing with you on the praise? You guys just give them time to grow into it. So I think to answer your question is our hearts have to be right. We can't base what we do on their response.
Yeah, that's good.
That doesn't work. We have to be consistent towards God. Like, I'm here to serve you. And really, they're just reaping the benefits of my service.
What does the scripture say? If I be lifted up, I'll draw.
I'll pull everybody else in.
Lifting him up, he'll draw. Well, let me give you guys another thought. When we're talking about worship in this, once again, in this crazy reality where you can't see them, we don't know if they're liking it or loving it. And the reality is, here's the other part. Who buys full albums anymore, right? And so you might think the song is hot, like you were saying, but they've never heard it before. They're very fickle these days, right? What's hot now is not hot tomorrow. I remember when I was in high school and even college, like you had your top three, like you had your Fred Hammond, your Kirk Franklin, your Ty Tribbett. You knew if you put them on, instant, I'm in. But now with the advance of Spotify and Apple Music and was it Tidal or something? There's so many music Tidal. That's it. All these music platforms, like it's saturated. Yeah. So how do we still reach this generation when they're like, I've never even heard that song? Because they might be dope to us because we're like, oh man, have you heard such and such? And like, yeah, man,
don't know what you're talking about.
Right. So I would say to that is we really have to understand, and I try to, teach my youth too, what praise is and what worship is, yes. To be able to identify even the difference and the similarities between the two. With that being the case, yes, we have all of this different music that we do and we pull from, but ultimately it's about praise and it's about worship. So just like I have to worship and praise to songs that I may not really like, you can do that to anything because it's not predicated on the type of song that you're singing. It's not predicated on who's there. All of these things that we have made it to become what it is. It's really not even about that. Praise and worship in itself requires a response. So with that being the case, how are we responding? And I did want to kind of throw this out there too with it. Sometimes we're the only Bible that they're reading. So the youth, they're looking at us, they're reading us. So a worshiper isn't just a Sunday morning thing. It's a lifestyle. And in that lifestyle of worship, we have to learn how to respond in life as we do in the congregation. So in that, you may have to respond a certain way when you get your papers from a teacher, when your manager didn't do the scheduling correct. How are you responding? Mm-hmm. And that is the real praise and worship. And when we talk about that being the lifestyle. So it's really not even so much about, oh, you don't know this song. You still can connect to what the message is that's in the song. Praise is what God has done for us, whereas worship is who he is. So when we're living that on a daily, it will change us, it will grow us. And that is what it's really about.
Okay. Well, we're going to close this thing out. This has been a good discussion. Some takeaways that I got, and I love how you said it, Vernon, man, this is not the time to introduce a new song every week. Like, this is not the time. Stick with the ones that are good. And you may say, well, man, it seems like we've run this back. Well, listen, and one of the things that Daethan I love is he takes it and he remixes parts of the song. It's the same song, but he'll remix a section of it, and you're like, oh, and it's man, you know what it is? It's spaghetti with a new seasoning. Instead of chicken, I put shrimp in it this week. It's shrimp spaghetti, right? I've done some things to make it different, but it's the same thing. So I would suggest those who are in services and they're looking at and they're worship leaders and they're like, man, there's all this stuff, man. Perfect the few songs, be consistent with it, add the words. If we have the opportunity to do lower thirds, the lyrics. My mom was telling me the other day, she's like, I love worship and I love when they sing new songs at our church, but I just wish they would put the words up every now and then because I want to sing too. So I suggest that too, if you have the opportunity, and you can do it in iMovie, and there's some other free apps out there that'll allow you to add the lyrics. Now, I'll be honest with you, we don't do that every week at The Rock, but it is something we are working towards, is adding the lyrics to our song. So I would say that's another thing. Another thing I would say, be hands-on, talk to the kids that you're singing to. What are they listening to? Learn that just as we expect the youth pastor to have a relationship with the kids, I think that the worship leader should also have a relationship with the kids in the community, to know who you're singing, and the adults. I mean, heck, you can't be singing some songs at work at one church, at your church, because everybody at that church jump up and clap and dance. But at your church, no, you need to know your culture, be authentic, and be current. Be current. Old songs are cool, but you might need to put a spin on it, or introduce the song that, hey man, look, there's something I want to show you guys. Because we've done that as well. We sang some old school songs and the kids got with it, but we had to introduce it. We couldn't just be like, old school song. No, hey, listen, man, let me give you some story on this. As we close this out, man, I'm going to give it back to you guys. Closing thoughts. I will start with you, Minister Jay. What are your closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. One, thanks for having me. It was a great conversation. Most of my closing thoughts. I think, as you say, just stay with God. This too shall pass. This will be over. Hopefully, when God brings us to a close. But in youth ministry, in any ministry you do, keep your heart towards God. Make sure that your intentions towards what you're doing is right. At the end of the day, the note might come out wrong. The band might not play the right thing, but your heart and your intentions have to be pure in order for God to get glory out of it. Because sometimes the mess ups are what we need in order to bring focus on other things that we need to maybe fix. So just stay focused, stay encouraged, reach out to other ministers of music that do what you do. Do not be afraid to look at their YouTubes and their videos and go, I like that. I don't like this, and integrate that into your services. But yeah, other than that, just stay focused. God is still great. No matter what song we're singing, he's going to still be a good God no matter what happens.
That's good. That's good. Mr. Daethan, what you got?
Yes, I would say the Bible verse that comes to mind actually is just the sufferings of this present time cannot be compared to the glory that shall be revealed. And with that being the case, you guys, we're all experiencing this new normal. But while we're kind of navigating through that, there is glory on the other side of this. I'm crazy enough to believe it. And while we're navigating through that normal, we have to realize that even though our world is on pause right now, we have to get back to God and ask God, even though everything else is on pause right now, what is it that you have in play for me? And with that being the case, worship is not on pause. Praise is not on pause. We still have to do that. The plans that he has for us is not on pause. So we still have to fulfill what it is that he has purposed us to do, and that is to praise and worship him.
I love it. Hey, if you guys are watching today and you receive something from these awesome dynamic worshipers, and maybe you want some more information, I encourage you to reach out to them. Mr. Daethan, give them your Instagram.
It's at Daethan. That's D as in David, Aethan.
And you, Minister J, what's your Instagram?
I am at the Vernon J, THEE Vernon J on Instagram and Facebook, I believe.
Man, God bless you guys. Wherever you are, from Texas to New York to California, I pray that you were able to receive something today. Listen, we can worship in a foreign land. It says it in the scripture. We can do it. And I believe, as Bible says, we will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. God bless you. We'll see you next month for another installment of the Fuel Network Overflow. God bless.